Okay. Happy Monday, Weirdos, and welcome to the first Play Weird stream of the week. So you can see I have my winter garb on because winter is indeed coming. And Thanksgiving, what's Thanksgiving? We don't have that here. I know our American friends do, but it's not a thing here. Hashtag House Stark. Yeah. So we're just getting ready for winter. As like, to be honest, it is pretty much winter. You know, as I look out my window, the trees are pretty much bare, and we're getting a bit of frost now as well. So it is winter's almost upon us, guys. It is actually dark, believe it or not. It is 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's dark here. So we are quite close to the north. Anyway, enough talk about the weather. So we've been working on this little fella the past few streams. I think this will probably be the last stream where I work on him live. I'll probably finish him up in my own time and get some pictures. I actually have some. So I think it's this size of base he's going on. I might actually do a little bit of the basin on stream if that's something people would be interested in, because I got some over the weekend. I got some more resin from my 3D printer, got restocked, and I've got some succulents and some aloe veras and dead branches and things that are going to look very good for a sort of frontier themed basing scheme. So because I say that like frontier like the Wild West, and frontier as in the keyword, because I'm probably going to use this little guy alongside the frontier crew that I'm working towards. McBluff, glad to have you again. Thanks for joining us. So, what are we doing? We are probably going to carry on with the leather. So, last time we got quite a lot of texture onto model there, and I actually started doing a little bit of an outline around it. So I'm just going to carry on with that just now. And if you've got any questions, and if you're working on anything else, I'd love to hear about it. If you've got any mad plans, things that you're going to be working on, I'd also love to hear about that. I always enjoy hearing about people's mad plans. Oh. Glad to be here. It's nice to have someone so chipper on a Monday. I felt like my weekend fairly breezed past me, but finished off a fairly big commission, which I'm happy with. On to the next one today. So I've been doing a lot of building this morning, packing and building. So actually picking up my paintbrush for the first time today. See you guys. So you should feel privileged, I guess. There you have it. So I have been working quite a lot lately. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, a couple of days off this week. I'll take a couple of weeks off. You know, a bit of a say what you're thinking there, Ben. Geez, oh, a couple of weeks off would be nice. I'm going to take a couple of days off towards the end of the week. I'm going to catch up on some personal projects, I think. So might even make a little start on Hamlin. Who knows? But I'm trying to exercise some delayed gratification, and I will not be buying any more bits and pieces until I've done some work on what I have. So there. And that will give me incentive to paint that stuff, because once I've done that, then I can get my other bits and pieces. Blasphemy, I know. We'll see how long that holds, won't we? Good grief. I think we've all done that, haven't we? Talked ourselves into being good, and then we just, to hell with it, end up just buying a load of other stuff. Let's do a little bit with those gloves, I think. Elements. So I'm going to take a bit of petroleum grey and brown grey. Mix those two together. I don't want to go straight up to brown grey just yet. Yeah, we'll see how long my little policy holds, won't we? It's, this time of year is soup weather for sure. So I'm going to do a similar texture on these elements, but because things like this leather here for the holster, that's obviously going to be more rigid, so it means it's going to get a harder edge on it to reflect that. But the likes of his hands, obviously the hardness of his knuckles, the definition of his fingers, that's gonna lend things a little bit more. So whilst the texture is very similar, it should appear different enough when we've applied the a harder highlight on it, I think. I hope. Petroleum grey, such a great colour. I'm sure I've talked about it many times before, but I'm a big fan of colours that can appear quite different depending on what you use them alongside. Like sometimes petroleum grey looks quite brown, other times it looks almost purple. Just a really neat, very versatile colour. So what I might do is use a little bit of black to go into some of the deeper shadows here. Just push that contrast a bit more. So naturally build up this texture a little bit more in areas that catch a bit more light, and it's a happy little accident. Areas that catch more light also tend to get a little bit more wear and tear, so it means that that texture, if we apply it cleverly and carefully, will also give us a bit of a highlight on the model. So some people might think it's a little strange that I'm spending so much time on this little model, but one, I really like the model, so I want them to look really cool. And two, you think about it, if you have like a favorite faction, say you play a lot of guild, play a lot of guild, there's a good chance that you're going to end up using this model quite a lot. So in fact, a good chance you can end up using your emissaries and effigies more than you use certain masters, depending on how you play. So let's have them looking good. That makes sense. Good, good. I'm glad. Glad. Suppose you could say the same of like your versatiles as well, couldn't you? What are those kind of? What those can end up seeing? I sometimes think this kind of thinking applies a lot also to like scenery and terrain, because the crazy thing about it is like you think if you're thinking strictly in game terms, because obviously if we're talking about painting for display and things like that, it's a different matter altogether. But if you're thinking strictly in terms of painting for the tabletop, your terrain is probably of a lot of most of the stuff in your collection what you play with the most, yet it's the thing that we generally tend to cut most corners on. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I mean, painting a brick wall is not as exciting as painting a little gunslinger or a necromancer or a big demon or something like that. So I do get it, but it's just weird stuff that I think about sometimes. I've actually got a little bit of the edge of the quarantine zone terrain up there to I'll probably do some work on at some point. Okay, so let's start hardening up some of these edges, shall we? Pick those knuckles out. The folds in the cloth, and then this bit would be stretched a bit thinner between the thumb and the forefinger. So it's subtle now, but we'll work on building that up. So you can hopefully see some of that definition beginning to really appear. One of the things I often visualize when I'm painting hands is you think about where the bones in the hand lie, because that's what really gives it definition. So if you look at, even if you look at your hand, see here, you can actually see some highlight and shadow falling where the bones my hand is. So it means that if you want your hand to look convincing, you're going to have highlights here, and then on this light's really bright, and the knuckles, they always catch a little more light, and you get a little bit of shadow in between there. Let's get a little definition. Notice some of those creases there. And along that edge there. Under there. Now I'm going to use just straight up brown grey next. Water that down a little. There you go. My favourite thing to paint. Painting skin's always quite interesting because it's one of the trickier things to do convincingly. And I think particularly if you come from a background of army painting, you can be used to just having one way to do skin and not really stepping outside that box at all. But when you really want to make your models interesting, and there's lots of different ways that you can do skin. And there's lots of different ways that I've done skin recently. I've got the I'll finish this and I'll show you. Just do that a little bit there. Just quickly go to the cabinet over here. So I've got, not quite finished yet, but he's nearly there. I've got Hoffman. And he's obviously an English gentleman, so Caucasian skin. But like even in the forearm, you can hopefully see it's not just a flat color, because skin isn't just one color all the way through. So you've got yellow tones, pink tones. Sometimes even you can put like a little bit of green or blue with the Caucasian skin. As you can see, I've done with the jawline. I'm going to redo his eyes. So you got Caucasian skin there, but then I've got Asami Tanaka, and obviously because she's Southeast Asian, then the skin color's different again. But it's not dramatically so. And it's a funny thing you see sometimes actually is that because unfortunately most of the guides that are available tend to be for Caucasian skin, there's not as much out there for skin tones of other ethnicities, unfortunately. But quite a simple thing I think that a lot of people miss is like when they paint, for talking sake, like African skin, they tend to just paint it like a flat brown, and then they'll shade it with like a black or purple, not realizing that a lot of the tones that you have in Caucasian skin, you do have in African skin as well. So it means that a lot of the paints that you use, if you were painting, well, I'm going to be painting Cornelius Bass at some point, so he's the first one that comes to mind. I will still use a lot of the paints that I used for Hoffman to paint Cornelius. So, for talking sake, I would probably use something like brown leather as a base for Cornelius' skin tone. But I'm still going to mix in things like Bugman's Glow, maybe even something like Pink Flesh to highlight up. Because, I mean, when you think about it, really, it's more or less the same skin. It's just that it's got different levels of melanin or pigment in it. So it means that it still adheres to a lot of the same rules. Like, although it's maybe not as obvious on me because I'm obviously a Caucasian, but the skin tone on the back of my hand is darker than on the palm of my hand. And it's the same like if you look at someone of African descent, you know, the skin on the palm of their hand's a lot paler than it is in the back of their hand. And it's little things like that that you can add to a miniature to make them that little bit more lifelike, that more convincing. And I think this is a really long-winded answer to your question, sorry, but I would say at the moment that's something that I'm really enjoying exploring. That's something I really like, and it's for that reason that there's a lot to painting skin. And we're not even talking about painting like vampires and demons and things like that. This is just human skin. Within human skin, you've got a lot to learn, a lot to master. And it's even like things like male versus female skin. They're different again. Old, young, healthy, unhealthy. There's lots of things that you can do with skin, and I'm really enjoying pushing that and trying to make it a little bit more convincing. Even on that sometimes you get tiny canvas to work with. Like, I'm still not quite finished up this guy, but it's a little bit gouty. He's maybe had one too many brandies, so he's a little bit more flushed, higher blood pressure. Just another little layer you can add to whatever story you're trying to tell with your miniature, you know. But if ever you end up having to paint too much of one thing, it can get a bit tedious. So I would say I enjoy painting lots of different things, but I would say at the moment I'm really interested in exploring skin. There's a theory with miniature painting, a little mantra that a lot of people out with. You've probably heard it yourself. Bases and faces. And so the theory behind that little mantra is that it's good faces and bases that really elevate a miniature towards being exceptional. It's it's maybe a little bit of an oversimplification, but I think there's a lot of truth to it as well. Because I think where the truth of that statement is evident is if you've got a miniature that's not necessarily badly painted or bad looking, but maybe where there's not very much going on with it. There's maybe not as much to work with, where it's maybe a little bit plain. But if you've got a miniature like that, and it's got a really good base on it, and the painter's done the work with the face, it's amazing how much those things can elevate a model. There. Okay, good. We are okay then. Good save by Wyrd. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Maniac. We're painting a bit more of the Brutal Effigy. Yeah, get along to the if you're a member of the Wyrd Games forum and you haven't already, make sure to get your votes in for the Rotten Harvest painting competition. I still need to go along and cast my votes actually. There you go. Yeah, I think I'm still a pleb on the forum, so I might have to stick with just looking in on all the pretty models from the outside. But thank you, Play Wyrd, for providing the link. On the ball as always. Get some scratches on there as well, I think. Or we end up going a little overboard with some of our scratches and anything like that, we need to fret, because we can always use a little bit of glazing to work on that. Get a little bit more in here, I think. Build that up some more. On the ridge of that issue there. It'll obviously get a bit more wear and tear, so just some of the places where I maybe want a little bit more shadow again, I'll just go back in a little bit of petroleum grey. Right in there, between the knuckles and the fingers. There's that shadow again. Then I think this way, down here. It's going to help blend some of our colours a bit more as well. Also want to push that contrast a bit. And do a little bit on the duster as well. If you're watching before, I actually used this as one of my shadow colours on the duster. And again, we want to creep up on it. You don't want to do big drastic changes that might be harder to reverse. Just small, sneaky little changes, creeping up on it. Like that. And there. A little bit more in there, I think. You see how in some places I put a little bit in and then go back and maybe put a bit more in. It's better that than trying to lighten something back up again. So lots of thinner, more manageable layers. It's better than one big gloopy one. And that's just a rule that you can apply to pretty much all of painting when you think about it. think we'll maybe put some of the metal in next. Hopefully give us a good idea of how things are reading. So one way I like to do metal is I actually take some black metal, which is a scale 75 metallic, and I mix that with some of this, and then I build it up gradually, going lighter and lighter, highlighting up. And this helps me to get quite a bit of nuance into the metal, because metallics can at times be a bit flat. So and I'm not covering the whole thing, I'm leaving some dark shadows. Same with the spurs. And the old tin star. And get those little studs along this collar as well. It's a little on the dark side just now, but that's not anything to worry about. Can lighten that up. We can also still create quite a bit of variation between the various metal bits as well. That's already reading a lot better just with that little bit of the metal put in there, isn't it? Something I dislike painting. Hmm. Um, Technique wise, um, hmm. I'm thinking about some of the stuff I've done recently to see what that could apply to. I do try to find. I do try and make a point of making painting as interesting for myself as I can, if that makes sense. I hope that doesn't sound too pretentious, but it's things like, for instance, if it's a model that I've painted before, um, even if someone says, "I want you to paint it the way you," so like for example, I painted Venom, the Marvel anti-hero for a client recently, and he said that he just wanted it like the box art, which is the traditional Venom colors, black and white with the sort of reddish pink tongue. Um, so I made it slightly brighter than the one that I'd done before, and instead of using scarlet as a base for the tongue and the jaws, I used magenta. So on the whole, it didn't make a huge difference to the overall outcome of the model, but it still uh, it made it different enough for me as the painter that I didn't feel like I was just treading old ground, if that makes sense. I would say I think yellow can be difficult. I think that's something that pretty much everyone finds. Certain paints can be more of a chore to work with than others. But yeah, I try to find it, like, even if I'm asked to paint something that isn't something that I would ever pick up off a shelf, I do always try to find something interesting to do within that. Like I don't collect outside of, I guess, Marvel Crisis Protocol. I don't collect a lot of sci-fi miniatures, so they can be a little bit challenging for me at times, in that it's not something that's at the forefront of my thinking, if that makes sense. But like, even within that, if I'm painting like a big space warrior or something, I'll use the opportunity to um, paint an interesting craggy face on him, or give him a really badass looking power weapon or something. Because little spoiler alert, if you ever decide to become a commission painter, you will end up painting power armor. It is an inevitability. So I think anything where you can end up doing a lot of repetition, it can create potential for you to end up disliking it. But I think as long as you're inventive, you're always trying to improve. Then you can keep it interesting for yourself that way. I was taking a blending class once and was asked how to fix this blotch yellow here. Who told you that? That's terrible advice. Oh, no, I don't agree with that. I think definitely there's some jobs that can be made easier for you with an airbrush. Like if you're having to paint, say for talking sake, like you're painting a big troll or something where there's a lot of visible skin, then absolutely, then you can do all that by hand with a brush. I've seen some absolute nutters do that, but it takes a long, long time. It can be done. It's just very, very time consuming. Um, yeah, if it was a large area, then yeah, then they are right. But if like people that just tell you, just don't bother doing yellow without an airbrush at all, I don't agree with that. There's sometimes it's just getting down a good base, and like you hear some wacky things about people using things like pink, like use pink for a base, or use white for a base for yellow. But I painted a lot of miniature on a model the other day for a commission. I used that as my base. Yellow ochre. It's like a mustard yellow almost. But the coverage that you get with this is really good. I'll show you. So So that's just one application of that over black. So obviously it's a bit more intense up here, but you can go back over that. Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to use like yellow ochre. I've used regular ochre as a base for yellow as well. That can work. Yeah, airbrush is definitely good if you're doing big areas, but you don't need to use an airbrush. And I know quite a few painters that hardly ever touch an airbrush. And we're back. I believe we're back. Yep. Sorry about that, guys. Having internet woes. I have returned from the void. saved by Play Wyrd once again from the Nephilim. This brush is a little bit past it, but I'm still using it for my metallics. I had to make a sacrifice. Or rather, Play Wyrd did. I don't know what she sacrificed though, so, and I don't know if I want to know. I don't know if I'm comfortable knowing just what the cost of bringing me back was. Ignorance is bliss and all that. Nothing vital. See, that still sounds ominous to me. That still sounds pretty foreboding. There we go. That's already made quite a big difference to how we're looking. I'm going to have a quick look at the box art for this little guy. It'll help me make a decision with what I'm doing with the belt, because I can't quite make my mind up about whether it is leather or metal. It really could be either, I think. Hmm. Nope, it's definitely me. It's definitely Ben. Jess. Nice to have you. Thanks for stopping by. I've not seen you in my stream in a little while. It's nice to see you. Hmm. I think I might just paint little rivet bits. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry to hear that. Be wishing Mama Haunted a very speedy recovery. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward middle of the day for you guys. I get that. Well, it's a bit like when a lot of you guys are on. I am wrangling my 2-year-old, trying to get him to eat dinner and go to bed. Fun and games. Maybe do the little buckle on his hat when we're at it. Not much of a point left on this brush, so it's not the neatest work, but we've got a PM. Yeah, so a lot of those things, Jess, they've got they've got an AI in them. If you try to send a photograph that's got too much skin in it flags it as a nudie pic and it blocks it. So it means that, like, for instance, like if you try to take a screenshot like this, like one of my hand just holding this, the AI just detects all this bare skin, goes, oh, block. Because it's happened to me a few times where I've tried to send pictures of, like, quite innocently, like me just holding a miniature, or I've got my hand in the picture. Yeah, I've got my hand in the picture for scale or something like that, and Discord will block it. It's quite funny. I suppose it's good that they're like picking stuff up like that automatically. Time and a place for that sort of thing. I'm going to do a little bit of walnut and dark brown onto the duster now. And be a little bit more selective with where this is going. So scribble, scribble, scribble. Those raised areas. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. What a time to be alive, eh? My hand's too hot for Discord, that's it. Discord AI is all aflutter with all these hand picks. Yeah. The hand model. Maybe I need to get little chambers for my hands to sit in for when I'm not painting. Make sure that they're looked after. Who's that? Who's that actress years ago that she had insurance on her legs or something like that? Do you remember that? There was an actress years ago. You were scouted as a hand model. Oh, that's brilliant. So how does hand model scouting work? How do they go about scoping out the talent? Do they go to like arm wrestling championships or something? Somewhere where they can see lots of hands? I suppose you could go to like chess tournaments as well, couldn't you? Or if we're talking about like present day, you could go along to collectible card game tournaments and things like that. You could probably scout for hand models at a Malifaux tournament, couldn't you? I actually get it. Photo shoot. Ah, okay. So they go to like jewelry stores. That's interesting. Probably just use Instagram now, don't they? To be fair, imagine that's where most of the model scouting happens now. You start startling your co-worker because you know. Are you effectively camouflaged then? Is that why you're startling them? You don't look like you. Well, I haven't committed to painting all the effigies yet, but I think it's something we've talked a lot about the other effigies, and I think it would be remiss of me not to do a full set of them. I think it would be cool. Um, I just think like the Marge Simpson meme. I just think they're neat. Yeah, I just like them. They're fun little characters, and they're all very distinct. Although they're all effigies, they're all like, of the same race or species or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. If you think about it, they're kind of like the mascots for each faction, aren't they? Like if Malifaux was actually some kind of sporting event, you could totally see the effigies doing like like stupid stunts during the breaks. Known for being brightly coloured. Pink and orange here. Oh, your hat's covering it. I like to mix it up clothing wise. You guys have probably seen. I'm wearing my grey House Stark Winter is Coming jumper today, but sometimes I've got my Chicago Bulls hoodie on. Sometimes just a bright t-shirt. I did get married in a kilt, of course. Clan McNaughton Tartan is it's the clan that I belong to. So I had a red kilt on. You need to get you a smock, Jess. Nice smock. Clan McNaughton. Sometimes McNaught. McNeil. So many clans. So Porter. So my surname is Porter. Porter are a sept of Clan McNaughton. If you're a sept of the clan, it means that you are descended from the clan down the female line. So it means potentially that there's possibly something a bit exotic in my genealogy, so shall we say. So I need to do one of those. I want to do one of those DNA tests because I'm definitely not Scottish all the way back. That's for sure. Irish and Cajun French. Oh, that's cool. Pretty much every Caucasian person is part Irish. It's crazy. Like just about everyone's got it somewhere. My pretty much everyone. If you're in the west of Scotland, odds on are you're part Irish as well. Obviously, proximity there, but it's the like same in the States, man. Like amount of people of Irish descent in the States is crazy. Had a second chosen family up the street, really into genealogy. That's funny. Yeah. Not a lot of people drink McEwen's anymore over here. It's pretty much all lagers now. People drink this neck of the woods. And obviously you've got your hipster types with all the IPAs and all that. That's cool though. You found out that you were like very distantly related. That is cool. Yeah, it's only really greatest respect to any McEwen's enthusiasts who may be watching. It's only really like older guys that drink it now. There's like to be honest, it's pretty common actually for a lot of people to just not drink at all because the laws with alcohol in Scotland are quite strict now. You know, with in relation to driving, that is. Like you're basically not allowed to have anything at all if you're driving, which is good. I agree with that. Kills me. Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. There's still plenty of drinkers in Scotland. Just that it is fairly common now for people just to not bother with it. No worries. Thanks for stopping by, Jess. Always a pleasure to chat with you, fella. I hope your wee mum's feeling better soon. After I've done this bit, I'm going to do a little bit more glazing just to tie some of these colours together a little more. More in there. Only get my little cacti and succulents printed out. Do a little bit of basing. You can actually use a little bit of dry brushing alongside this as well. That can really help to sell that texture. Okay, let's get a little bit of dry bark glaze on there. Try and pull our colours together a bit better. Okay. There we go. And you can see that's pulling those colours together a bit better. So some people would call this, what we're doing here, a diaphanous glaze, which just means it's a really thin glaze that we apply to make it look like some of that scarring and wear and tear is a little bit deeper set into that fabric. I might do a little bit more on some of the areas with a bit more shadow. Just push the contrast a little bit more. Do apologise for any shrieking you might hear in the background. My 2-year-old is back from nursery now. Yeah. And give that a quick dry off. What I'm going to do next, I think, is glaze some lighter browns. So I'll start with a little bit of brown leather. This has got a lot more red in it. I might actually just do red leather with this, I think. This red leather is a bit darker. What I'm going to do is just very lightly glaze some of that into those transitional areas between the light and the dark. So where the really worn patches begin and where the shadows end, just in there. It's very, very lightly. It's just going to make that leather look a little bit more alive. Yep, there he goes. He's recently discovered the joy of screaming at the top of his lungs for no reason whatsoever. So that is what you're getting a little sampling of there. Wish he'd wait till I'm trying not to concentrate to sing me a song, personally, but try explaining that to a 2-year-old, I guess. Songs, people. So there we go, just a subtle bit of colour. I can reinforce that as well a little bit later if I want. As always, it's better to sneak up on it than it is to end up having to claw your way back from that. And before we finish, I'm just going to do a little bit more on the metal. So applying this to raised areas in much the same way we would if we were highlighting anything else. The Screech song probably roughly translates to something like "Give me chocolate," because he has discovered recently the wonders of chocolate in all its many forms. He screams like a banshee if he doesn't get a bit. He's a good wee boy. just likes chocolate. He's a little bit wild. This is the way with little boys. Crazy little boys. Well, I think we're probably going to leave it there for today. I'll quickly pop his hat on, see how he's looking. Yeah, he's getting there. Where's his little backpack? It's a really cute way of referring to the coffin he's carrying around on his back, isn't it? His little backpack. There he is. Ready for Death Marshal Nursery. Oh. So I think we maybe want to push the red and the brown on the duster a little bit more because it's looking quite similar to his pine box still. But he's looking good, he's getting there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I might do another little stream just finishing them up, or I might move on to something else for Wednesday because we have many wonderful things ready to paint. Yeah, so I think that is it from me for today. I will be back again on. I'll pop them there so you can admire them a wee bit longer. So I'll be back again on Wednesday at the same time. But tonight, I believe Doug, aka Guslado, is going to be painting some. I think it's some Apex keyword Thanksgiving themed stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Wyrd can correct me on that. I don't know if he's moving on to something else, but I know that's what he was working on. Anyway, lots of great content for the rest of the week. But I will see you again on Wednesday. In the meantime, get a look at the schedule. It's up all over the socials, and make sure you stop by and see what everyone else is up to. All right, guys. All the best with the rest of your Monday, and I'll see you through the week. Bye.